Because I'm at the backwards. Yeah. So it's not that bad. No, I think it's an hour and 5 minutes.
Right down 47.
So it's not that, really, it's not that bad.
Are you done with that?
Yes. It's finished.
Yeah, it's right here.
Did you sleep with us? I crashed. But this Oh. Yeah, they're all munching down there. And she was down there with the kids too, yeah. It's almost 3.
Well, I think I was feeling what you were saying.
I don't know who that's from, it must be his friend. His granddaughter was here. She brought me flowers. It was really sweet.
Well, I guess I'm just, I want to be able to speak in ways in terms of versus my homily. Yes.
I think they're really I was texting. I've always texted, but she never
What was your hand?
Do I need to get my notebook?
There's me.
What did you say? What did you say?
7 minutes left. I know. Sometimes when I watch baseball or football, and I jump so excited, I jump up, my son just cracks up. He loves it. I can do it. Barely, but I can do it. He gets such a kick out of it. He starts yelling at us, he knows yelling because I'm yelling. Got to beat up something. This is my boyfriend, Jeff. This is my dad's, Linda's, one of Linda's daughters.
Have you seen
I'm sorry?
the rest of the kids?
No, I haven't seen any of them.
Huh?
Hi, honey.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Hi, good to see you.
You know, James was going downstairs to look for the kids,
Yeah.
and Diana, so I don't know.
Robbie's here.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I think I see the best Tracy since I know, right. You guys go ahead and sit down because we're fine. Please. Sit up there, oh yeah, I'm gonna put this on the table, but let me forget. Jeff's granddaughter, baby.
You are asking the wrong person to remember something.
I'll remember. I'll try to remember.
Oh, your dad was just looking for you.
He just found us.
Oh, well, that explains why you're up there.
Yeah. Here, go ahead, guys. Sit down in the corner. No, sit up front. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm good here.
Not that one. Not that one.
I know it's perfect.
You like the way he said it? Because if I knew Bradley and something. He said, I never knew that
If you need help investing money, talk to him. He's smart, he knows that.
He's moving.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously, he will buy a car.
He does not invest money very well. Whenever he gets anything, he spends it on candy. Don't make him do
I'll give you 20% interest. If you let me borrow $10,000.
Oh my God.
For candy.
For candy.
Oh my God. Did you hear that?
Everybody heard that.
He sounds like his uncle.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all here to Hultgren Funeral Home. Before we invite Pastor Morton to come forward and begin our services this afternoon, I'd like to invite you to please silence or turn off your cell phone.
Especially for me. Especially for me. And if your phone does go off, of course, grace will be extended. I kind of get that feel from you that you're a grace-filled bunch. And so, but we want to make sure that the distractions are at a minimum for our time together as we celebrate and remember and honor the life of Errol. I am so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for your loss. You seem to like each other quite a bit. You seem we're talking and having fun and all the like. Why don't we just take a moment, though, and just kind of spend a moment, focus ourselves, silent prayer, and I'll lead us out of that time together. So if you would, let's just take a moment in silence. Father, our hearts are heavy right now, but it's good to know that your word says that you're near to the brokenhearted. And so may we sense your unfailing love as we put our hope in you in this time that we have together. It's in your name I pray these things. Amen. I did not meet Errol. I kind of think, though, we might have been friends. I kind of think I know. I have a feeling as I was kind of talking with Errol a little bit about him and just the charisma that he had, the capacity he had to think through things and to process things. I know that he was a very smart guy, very smart. He was a very loving guy. He was always helping others. I know that he loved cars. That's one of my new hobbies, actually. I have a fleet of cars for my children, and they're all old cars, and so I'm always fixing them. And I know that that was something that was kind of near to his heart, too. He liked doing that sort of stuff. He was a people person. He just loved to be with people. In fact, I understand he was quite the life of the party. He would come in and the place would light up just with his personality. Back to his smarts, though. He was a self-taught guy. He was a businessman at a very young age. He was a machine tool program guy. He was able to teach himself G-code. I don't even know what that is, but I'm imagining it's a language that he had to figure out. He was sharp like that. He was also a big music lover. We were talking a little bit about him being a DJ and doing lights and running the sound. Understand that he liked working on his house as well, expanding things and working out basements and air conditioning units and all these kinds of things. I understand he liked pets as well. He had a soft spot in his heart for birds and dogs and cats and all types of animals. And again, though, it just comes back to his personality. And I'm not an expert here. I'm not an expert on Errol, but I know somebody who is. And I'm going to invite Brother Darrell. Come on up, and you can give us an even better picture of the life of your brother.
Well, my name is Darrell. Welcome everybody for coming. I see they closed all the doors, which is good, because for the next 6 hours we're going to discuss religion and politics. But for real, Errol was my big brother. I only had one brother. We were a year and 9 months apart, so we ended up being one grade apart in school. But as I've been thinking, like just kind of thinking about our lives together, like a lot of memories have come up, and I'm usually good at this kind of thing, but I'm really nervous right now, and I made some bullet points to talk about because I feel like I never say the right thing, but I picked a few good points to talk about. But Errol was a constant in my life. Like, I knew him my entire life. He was just always there, especially as a child, and I always looked up to my big brother. I wanted to be like him. He could be a real pain in the ass, but he was my big brother, and I always felt like he looked out for me as a kid. But he was also a character, and he was my big brother, so he always did all kinds of stuff to me. A very vivid memory of mine, and my mom knows this one, but she drove an 84 cream-colored Monte Carlo, and it was a sedan, or not a sedan, it was a coupe, so it had the two front doors, and it had electric, it had power, everything. And the button that said lock, I couldn't read, but I knew the other buttons opened the windows. But when I asked my brother, what does this button do? He's like, don't touch it, that'll blow the fucking doors off the car. And I believed him. Like, I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, and I believed him. So like, I was always terrified of that button after that. And those were the kinds of things that he always did to me, And Errol and I were 80s kids, so karate was big, He-Man was big, and Errol always had a sword stuck in the back of his t-shirt, and it would be coming out of his ass on the other side as well. And I just always remembered, we either shared a bedroom or we had separate bedrooms throughout growing up, but we always lived in smaller houses and they were ranch style, so like the bedrooms would always be on one side, and I would be coming down the hall, and I swear my brother had like a sixth sense, and he would just pop out of nowhere. And Renee, I was talking about that picture, the face that he made, but he would come out, and his favorite thing to call me growing up, and forgive my language, but he called me dickweed. So like, imagine, just visualize what that means. It's a weed of those. And that was his favorite thing to call me. And we were little kids, but he could just sense my presence, I feel like, and I'd be coming down the hall, and he'd either have his sword or he'd be practicing karate moves on me, but it was always like, it was a toll I had to pay. I had to get past my brother just to get to the bathroom or my bedroom or something. And he wasn't like hitting me hard or anything, he was just being a big brother, but like that's what Errol was to me. That's what he always, he looked out for me, never would let anybody mess with me, but unless it was him, you know what I mean? And those just, I don't know, that was really stuck out to me, because in the moment, I just remember feeling tortured, but like now it's a happy memory, and we've talked about it over the years, and we had a lot of good times together. We were inseparable. When when we were little kids, before school would start, like after summer break or after Christmas break or any extended time away from school, I was always terrified of going back to school. And I remember the night before the first day of school, I would always cry and be scared. I couldn't sleep. I would throw up. I'd be a complete mess. And I would always beg my brother to leave his door open just a crack. And he always did. You know, no matter what, he didn't make fun of me. He didn't do anything. He just did it. And, you know, it made me feel safe. And it like truly did as a child, just knowing he was there got me through those nights. And, you know, he was like my security, you know. I always trusted my parents would be around and take care of us, but my brother always looked out for me. And just like my safe place. And anything that I was afraid to do, if my brother did it, I knew it was okay. And good or bad. And there was a lot of bad things that, you know, he introduced me to over the years that we partook in over the time. But I looked up to him. I wanted to be like him. We did everything together through childhood, through high school. Any of our friends that are here, you know, there's some pictures up there too. He had a red Firebird, and we were always around the campus of Lombard West, just causing terror, basically. There was a story, which I won't get into, where his car got run over by a school bus on campus.
Oh my goodness.
Legit did happen. We were both in detention in that morning when it happened, and we heard over the walkie-talkies as it went down. But you know, that was just our life. And I was the one that always got in trouble for everything. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't own the car, but I was the one that got grounded for that one. Everything I know as going into adulthood, I learned from my brother, or I learned from watching my dad teach my brother. And you know, I feel like I'm pretty handy. I know my way around a lot of things, and I've done well for myself, but it's because of my brother, you know, and the things that he taught me. And as I told the pastor, he was a self-taught guy. He was a genius. You know, I've done a lot with my life, and I feel like I've got a brain on my head, but I always describe my brother as a genius, and he was. You know, he taught himself G-code at 14, and you not only have to have computer knowledge to do that, but you have to have mechanical knowledge and inclination in that way in order to put the two together, and he somehow figured that stuff out, and I was just playing, I was reading like Calvin and Hobbes in the back office when he was doing that kind of stuff. But I learned a lot from him. I can confidently walk through life and do things because of my brother and the things that I learned from just being around him. We had a family business together out of high school. After my dad passed, it was my mom, my brother, and I, and you know, we made something together. And I think you remember this, Mom, I always talked about we were a tripod, that nothing would work unless all three of us were involved. And we would never have success, nothing would work, we would never be okay if one of us wasn't part of the package. It was, you needed to have all three legs to the table for the table to stand up. And I really believe that. And I will say, in a sense, after that tripod kind of went away, you know, we drifted apart for a while. And, you know, that was life. But even through that time, Errol was the guy that I could call whenever I needed help with something. And like a recent experience I had like 2 summers ago, I was at a friend's house and their AC unit went on the fritz when I was there. And I don't know anything about HVAC, but I went out to the condenser and started messing with it, and I called Errol. And just by memory, he walked me through like the wiring and what to do, and you know, got it fixed and within 10 minutes. And like, that's something that it breaks my heart, because that goes with my brother, you know, like that kind of knowledge essentially died with him. And you know, we lost our father over 19 years ago, and whenever I would get together with my brother, he would always tell me stories about my dad, because I was more of a mama's boy growing up, and he was more with my dad. But even that, like that whole experience goes with him. You know, he was the light of the room, the life of the party. Whenever Errol was in a room, everybody could hear him. You know, like whatever he was talking about, you would get sucked in. I always said I was getting sucked into Errol's vortex, but that's what it was, you know. It just, there was always something going on. There was something, you know, to talk about, and Errol always had something to say. But yeah, I always knew in the back of my mind, even with a recent move that we had, that like I could count on my brother if I need to. I can give him a call and he'll be there. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Now it won't happen anymore. But with all that, like Errol, I love music. Errol loved music, and some of my favorite times in life were in high school. Driving around in his car, just blasting music. We were playing some of his favorite songs. Like all the songs that we're playing were Errol's favorites. Like throughout years, they all meant something, or periods of time in our life. And you know, I've learned through my brother how to use music to like soothe my soul and get through hard times. And you know, there's a lot of music that just reminds me of him. But one of my second favorite times in life was around the summer of 2008. I started hanging around with my brother again, and we were inseparable again for a while. And that was just a really, really good time in my life. We had a good time. It was always fun, never fighting, stuff like that. And I'll always cherish those memories. But the music that goes along with it, it's just like a whole time period. Like it takes me back whenever I hear it. So, you know, I look around this room and there's a lot of familiar faces here, people I haven't seen in decades. And, you know, you're all here for Errol and Errol's family, and I thank you for that. And one of the things that I wanted to cover is my brother and I both struggled with addiction for a long time, basically our entire teenage years through our entire adulthood. And I was fortunate enough to get away from that and find sobriety. Unfortunately, my brother was not. And that's why we're all here today. And my message to anybody here is, if you're struggling, or someone may be telling you that, you know, you need to back off, or, you know, that maybe you have an issue, there's a way to stop. There's a way to save your life. Or if you know somebody who's struggling, give them my number. You know, I'll talk to them. But there's hope and there's a way. And I've learned through life that people tell their stories through life, and they tell their stories through their death. And my brother is telling a pretty big story through his death right now. He was 44 years old, and he should be here right now. Like, this group of people here is a group of people that he should be hanging out with right now. He was a young man, and he loved all of you, and I know you all loved him. And this was preventable. And I know that if I hadn't have found sobriety 6.5 years ago, I wouldn't be here. But that's enough with that. I just felt it necessary to share that, but there is hope. I promise you that. There is a way. And I don't want to drag this out too long, but again, I didn't want this to be a glum meeting for everybody. I was hoping that people would share stories and smile and laugh, and a lot of that has happened today. So I thank you all for coming and sharing your stories and remembering my brother. All of you in here that I know, there's pieces of you that I carry in memories and with my brother, and you know, like we've all had fun together, we've raised hell together, and it's good to see you all here together. Errol would have loved this group today, and I could just imagine him, you know, doing stuff like that and just having his people around, you know. So I think that's about all I have to say. I love my brother very much, and I know he was the kind of person that loved everybody about him. He's the kind of person that would give you his shirt off his back even when he didn't have one to give. And that's what I'll always remember about him, and I'll miss him very much. And I love you all. Thank you for coming, and that's all I got for now. Thank you for giving me the time to share.
Thank you so much, Errol. Renee,
Yes.
it's your turn.
Okay. Well, that was something to beat right there. I was going to come up here. I'm Renee, by the way. I was going to come up here and I was going to share some stories that I have of Errol as well. And I'll be honest, I couldn't pick one. I'm gonna do my best to get through this. So I just want to talk a little bit about Errol. He, like you mentioned, he was an amazing soul, very kind. One of the first things that made me so attracted to him was we had gone on one of our first dates, and we were out in public, and there was a lady that was in a wheelchair and another lady that was carrying all of the stuff going with, and a gentleman that was a little elderly pushing behind. And he let go of my hand and dropped everything he was doing and walked straight over to these people and helped push this person up to where they were sitting. We were watching fireworks. Went back and helped the other lady that had all of the stuff, and I just stood there and just watched this entire event pour out. And you could see that he was genuinely concerned, the compassion that was in his heart. It was just one of his many special things about him. He was loving, he was kind. This man would seriously take the shirt off his back to help anybody that needed it, and it didn't matter what it was. It could be something small, you need a ride, or it could be he needs $50. You know, I had to go there. He was genuine, he was kind, he was amazing. I have a whole speech here, and I just don't think that it does him any good. I just want to point out that Errol struggled with a lot of things, and sometimes Errol could not be so kind in certain moments, but his heart was a heart of gold. We all understand that that was not him as a person. He was an amazing man. I'm rambling, and I wanted to do better. I'm sorry, Daryl, I wanted to do better. I wrote this speech, and I just kind of think that maybe this is just between him and I. I could tell you guys so many funny stories. You know, one last thing to talk about is the way he made you laugh. I know a lot of funny people in my life, and you guys are all a very funny family. I have never met a human being on the face of this planet that has made me laugh so hard until I almost tinkle. He had a way of making fun of himself, making fun of me, making fun of anything in a kind but hysterical fashion. And those are just the memories that I'm gonna hold on to. It's just that laughter. There's no words to describe how funny this man was and how genuine he was. And I'm sorry, I can't do better than that, but thank you everybody for coming. We love you, Errol. Thank you guys.
So now I'm going to be calling on people. You might be one of them. So if Ahmet would come on up now and share a few words, that would be great.
Hello everyone. I'm cousin Ahmet, known Errol in person since 1994, March of 14. I had the pleasure of being able to spend all my young youth into adult life, also my 20s with him. He's been a great friend, great cousin, and as Daryl mentioned about the tripod, we also had the tripod within ourselves between Daryl and I and Errol, where I had the pleasure to be able to work with them at the shop that they had, and Daryl would stay in the office with Aunt Cecilia, and Errol and I would get in trouble by turning firecrackers into a little hand grenades. My uncle would go out doing deliveries or picking up materials or whatever the case it was. When he would come in, Daryl was the eye in the office that would say, "Hey, Dad is coming," and we would just go back to work and doing what we were doing, and we'd figure out a way to complete things. And when he was back out, we'd start blowing stuff in the back of the warehouse. And one time I remember, we'd always try to do something bigger and better than the last one, and we ended up making one that actually damaged the boat, if you remember. Knocked a pretty big hole in the body of it, and I think that was the last time that we ever dealt with it because we were in big trouble. But yeah, I had my very first memories. I couldn't speak English, and there are very few words that I learned when I first came to the States. And one of them is every time that I would get in trouble by doing something that I'm not supposed to, he would say, "Me baba." Baba means father in Turkish. You chak chak means like he's gonna slap you. And we used that word up until 2 months ago when I spoke to him on the phone. You know, just that we were, keep remembering our good childhood memories. You know, he's just like Daryl mentioned. I mean, he spoke of most of the stuff that I wanted to speak about him as well. You know, we had an amazing time together. I was kind of left things behind back in 2009, you know, when I moved on with my life and went to a different state. But we always kept in touch. Once a month, twice a month, you know, that we would just text back and forth each other that, you know, with the memories that we always had growing up that were just, you know, funny to us. And I didn't know, to be honest with you, because I didn't spoke to many of his friends or members except Daryl, that he was going through a trouble like this, because he never reflected on me that, you know, he was going through some rough times. I've always remember everything good, you know, about him, with him. And, you know, just like Daryl mentioned, he's one of the smartest men that I ever met in my life. I had the pleasure with, you know, working with him for, you know, 2-3 years, just seeing him being able to do things that I really don't think that anyone can still do today. Being in their field, that was just always amazing. Anything that he put in his mind to, I always believed that he was gonna not only meet but exceed it as well. I've always appreciated him for being there, being a part of my life, and it was very shocking to me to hear the news. You know, I was supposed to fly out of here, and my plane got canceled, and Daryl reached out to me and, you know, to let me know that what was going on. That was just heartbreaking, because 2 days prior to it, I just spoke to him and everything was okay, and we were going to try to make a plan to see each other. Unfortunately, things turned to the worst, you know, that I wasn't expecting at all. I, you know, just always loved him, you know, always will, and you know, it breaks my heart to see someone that is beautiful as him, you know, having to go through things that I'm hearing that, you know, that he's been going through. And you know, I just you know, had the pleasure to be a part of his life as well. You know, there's a lot of good ups and downs. He is one of two persons in my whole entirety that I never argued with. One of them being Daryl, and the second was being Errol. He was just the nice guy that I always got along. You know, he had problems that was usually you know, related to his girlfriends, or in those scenarios that I was there to be able to, you know, support him with it. And this is, you know, in our teens, you know, I'm talking about between 16 and 22 years old. You know, it was just I have a lot of good memories with him. You know, one of them I just want to touch base real quick before I step down, but I think I was 15 or 16, I got up to 16 and he was 14, and we thought we were just outside than everybody else. And I would have sleepovers at my Aunt Cecilia and Aunt Clarison's house, you know, with my cousins in the basement. And we all, I think, started to, or tried to start, you know, smoke a cigarette at the time. And we thought that, you know, us taking a puff and blowing under a couch was just going to be, you know, like no one was going to do about it, you know. And I remember my brother walking downstairs at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like, "Are you guys smoking?" And we're like, "What are you talking about?" And we actually ate our cigarettes. And you know, like, what are you talking about? It's like the whole house smells like cigarette, you know, and then as Cecilia comes on, of course, and, you know, we were just in trouble. And, you know, it's just things like that. We just loved doing things that, I mean, we just loved to get in trouble. I mean, it wasn't nothing major either, you know, it was just like, you know, just little stupid things here and there, you know, we were just out there, we were just, way too smart for everybody's good. And, I will always remember those, you know, Daryl and I, you know, when we do have the opportunity to talk to each other, and that's all we talk about is Uncle Harrison and all the funny stuff that we did back in our days. So, glad to be, you know, part of this family, and, you know, I love him, and, you know, we'll miss him, but he's always gonna be with me in my heart, you know, the rest of my life. And thank you so much for letting me be here. Thank you.
So now I'd like to invite Christian on up.
Hello everybody. So my name is Christian. I public speak and present in front of CEOs, but this is a little bit different. But Errol asked me to come up and share some stories, and I got plenty of those. He's definitely my brother from another mother. We were attached to the hip, literally. He was either at my house or I was at his. I probably slept more at his house than at my own. So we met pretty much late in life. I'm originally from Germany. I came in 1997, and then I met Misty, who ended up being, you know, Errol's wife. So around 2001, Misty invited me to go to the movies, and I ended up buying, right before I ended up buying this car. And this car is what started our friendship. And you may ask why. I'll tell you why. So I love cars, and the louder the better. So this car was modified and it had an exhaust on it. So we decided to go to the movies, and I said I was going to pick him up. And we get to the streets of Woodfield and wanted to go see the AMC, you know, watch the movie there. And I decided to floor it through the entire parking garage all the way to the top, setting off as many alarms as we could. And it was so much fun that he was dying laughing and he was in tears, and we did it again, and again, and again. So, so this is really how our friendship started, and we were really inseparable ever since, you know. There's a lot of things that you talked about earlier, things that you learned from him. When it comes to, I now probably remodeled 3 houses, and I don't know how many kitchens and bathrooms. He taught me anything at all when it comes to that. Plumbing, you know. So I know he was also in music, right? We shared the same passion for EDM, to the point that I actually unofficially hired Errol to be the DJ for the parties. He then DJ'd in the basement. You could, when you came into the house, you couldn't even see in front of you because we had the fog machine going on top of it. So yeah, it was pretty much like going to alumni, that I felt like I was his personal E, because I was actually the person that took all the song requests for His Highness, you know, DJing at the alumni club. So yeah, it's, I know you had a passion for fireworks, right? Jeez, good Lord, I don't know how many times we went to these Glen Heights fireworks. That was his favorite. I don't know. It's been tough, for sure. We had many things in common. I personally believe that as much as I'm in debt today and living paycheck to paycheck, he had a big contribution on that, because he introduced me to cars, to guns, to, you know, to a lot of things that I just keep reliving. So, yeah, that was my story. I'm sticking to it. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Christian. I'm going to invite Dennis up now.
All right. I don't have a cool German accent, so I'm gonna try to follow the best I can. My name is Dennis Wellman, friends with Daryl and Errol for many, many, many moons. I feel like I'm an old man. I gotta take my glasses off to read. The lettering's so small. Actually, speaking of music, I taught him how to mix, so congratulations to him on that. He may lie and say he didn't, but I did. So I brought 2 turntables and a microphone. He came over and I taught him how. So just an amazing guy. Even as a kid growing up, we had lots of keggers in my backyard, and yeah, he was one of the last to always stay. So we definitely had fun with us there. He definitely became like family to us. Just growing up, I mean, Leonard, he was a good friend of Leonard's as well. We all hung out and just had many occasions. Ran a few times for Mr. Monahan over at Lombard West High School. I got caught a lot. He didn't. I don't know how. He was a little faster than him, but he just somehow got away, or he just was good at talking his way out of him. My kids truly loved him too. We would go over and hang out at his house and swim and sit out on the balcony and check out this view. It's amazing. It's such an amazing view, and my kids loved it. And he was always a jokester, and he would always kid with my little Aiden. He's like, "Don't look too far. You don't want to fall over." And my son would get all scared, and he's like, "I'm just kidding. Just look all you want, but don't fall over." I'm like, "Stop saying that to him." But yeah, he's just a kind soul. I mean, there's nothing really about him that really irked me. It was just always like everything from, he'd send me 15 reels a minute on like Facebook or Instagram, and I'd have to keep up and try to follow back, send him back reels. And unfortunately, last night I was looking through reels and I just wanted to send it to him. I'm like, man, I can't do that anymore, man. It's kind of disturbing, but you move on. You got to take life for what it is and just enjoy it. Just a good dude. Like constantly, always talking to each other, hanging out, and actually Thanksgiving, 11:17 a.m. I was getting my turkey ready to cook, and I get a text from him, "Happy Thanksgiving." I'm like, oh man, I gotta call him, because he normally doesn't just text me randomly like that. So I texted him, picked the phone up right away. I called him. We shot the shit for a good 25-30 minutes, and I was like, "Hey man, why don't you come over for Thanksgiving?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be there. I'll make it. I'll be there. I'm just packing up my stuff. I'm moving out," and unfortunately, never followed through. But that's just life. It was just good to talk to him before everything happened. Yeah, I mean, during the last I'd say 8 to 10 years, we kind of gained closer of friendship. Just we had same similarities. Some of the jokes, and we would just rip on each other left and right, and just constantly just poke fun, and it's a painful loss for all of us. And he's a good man, and he's gonna be greatly missed, and he's got to keep his memory alive, right? So that's all I wrote. So thank you much.
I'd like to invite Ryan up.
Hello, everybody. Ryan. I didn't write a speech or anything like that, but I met Errol through Daryl. I want to say it was in 2006. I was fortunate enough to get hired by the company at the time, and when I met Errol, we just clicked. Same interests, we love music together. We love riding motorcycles, cars, animals, all that stuff. We were inseparable for many years. I remember there were times I would sleep at his apartment or in my own house. But like everyone touched on, he was just a great person to be around, never negative. Some of the best laughs I've ever had in my life was with him. And he'll always be with me. He taught me how to DJ. We worked together at a lot of clubs, opened for a lot of really cool artists, and I'm just gonna miss him a lot. but I know he'll always be with me. We still have his CDs that we made, and anytime I'm on that bike or in that car, I'm gonna pop it in and he'll be with me. That's pretty much all I got.
Just want to provide an opportunity for you, if you had something prepared or you have something that you would like to share that would be encouraging to the family. I just want to just create some space for you if you had something. And if not, that's okay too. Sometimes emotions they run pretty high. Just want to give you space. I know that in times like these, there's a lot of different emotions, aren't there? There's a lot of swirling emotions, tons of emotions. Of course, sadness is the predominant emotion. There's feelings of shock, surprise, sometimes anger, sometimes fear, anxiety. There's a lot of different things that we feel. It's a heaviness, it's a darkness. But I am here to encourage you. That's why I'm here to encourage you. Sometimes we have to be truthful. We got to put down those cards on the table and say, this is what we're dealing with right now. In my encouragement, maybe I'll ask the question. Can I encourage you just by asking a question? Could there be something of value and worth in this moment? Could there be something here that could be of great wealth to us? Could there be gems and jewels hidden in the darkness of our pain and our sorrow? I'm going to answer my own question because I think it's a little safer. But I think so. I think so. In fact, I know so. There's so much truth in a moment like this. I think that the truth then brings clarity, and clarity brings direction. I think that there's even like germs of faith that can grow, seeds of faith that can grow in a time like this. There's just so much light. There's just so much. I'm just going to share with you briefly just some of the truths that we discover in a time like this. One of the greatest truths, of course, is that we're not in control. We're not in control. God's ultimately in control. I like to be in control. I love to be in control. I like to control people. I like to control circumstances. I don't like surprises. Hate surprises. I'm a former high school band and choir director. I used to have a marching band of like 120 kids. I had strategies upon strategies to ensure I didn't lose one kid on a parade route. I was terrified of that happening. I'm a father of 4. I have this really cool app on my phone that lets me know where they are at all times. Parents, I know that you might have that app too. It's very comforting. We know where everybody is. I've been a pastor for 21 years. That should also probably say something about my controlling strategies. I know I'm not alone. We all have control issues. And in moments like these, we are confronted with the reality that God is ultimately in control. And with that knowledge actually comes a certain sobriety and a clarity and even sanity. I'm just thinking about the 12 steps, and the second one, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. It's belief in the higher power that brings us this sobriety. And this is actually what many of you are experiencing in this moment. The older I get, by the way, the more comfort I find in that reality. What comes up next to it, though, is another reality, and that is simply that you're not alone. You're not alone. Renee and I were kind of talking a little bit about this before. It's just how it's been good to have friends and to have family and to have support. But I'm talking spiritually, you're not alone. And sure, it's great to have sobriety of God's presence and his grandeur, but also to be aware of his presence in this moment. There's a great old Hebrew poem. You might be familiar with this. It's the 23rd Psalm. And just the first 6 verses reveal an awful lot about the character and the promises of God. Let's have some fun. Let's see who can remember it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Yeah, that's a declaration. That's a declaration of a sheep saying this about the good shepherd. I also have a picture of like a sheep being driven through kind of a deserty, arid land where there's not a whole lot of sustenance in the moment, and it's dry and it's parched. That's actually a good description of what grief is, isn't it? And so the psalm tells us that there is this this presence, and we can be content in his presence. And it goes on, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. And so I know that some of you probably haven't been sleeping too good. I almost, at dollars to donuts, it's been very difficult finding rest. But here we have this picture of a shepherd, this spiritual force, our higher power, guiding, leading, directing, providing places for sleep. And not only that for our physicality, but also for our spirituality. This sustenance, like if you're a vegetarian, I feel really sorry for you. Sheep are vegetarians, they're herbivores. But this is a picture, again, using metaphorical language, a picture of these green pastures and these still waters. That's to restore, that is to help us. That's a spiritual restoration of our soul. Some of you feel probably gut punched and mule kicked right now. It doesn't feel right. It's very disorienting. And so the Good Shepherd is here guiding and leading and providing for you in this moment. Why is he doing it? Well, he leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Errol had a name. He had a reputation. Your reputation and your name are one and the same. His reputation followed him everywhere he went. It preceded him and it followed him. And he had a pretty good name. Great character, great chemistry with others. Clearly, I wish I had had friends like he had. Deep bonds. You two have a name, and your reputation is also attached to your name, and that precedes you and follows you everywhere you go as well. I would hope everybody here has a good name. It's no different with the Good Shepherd. He has a name as well. We pray in his name. And his name is that he will always lead us in right paths. It doesn't mean it always feels right, but from his vantage point again, it always is right. Especially in a moment like this. So Errol has passed away. He has passed away. And so we are now in the shadowlands, in the shadow of his passing. We're in the valley. We're in the valley. And so this next verse now takes a very personal turn, and it speaks directly to us. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, which then begs the question of why. Why? The next statement answers it. For you are with me. You're not alone. God sees you. He's moving towards you. He cares about you. He's compassionate. He loves you. Huge gem, huge jewel. Those are riches right now. Another truth is simply love. Lots of love. This room was kind of emanating of love when I came in the front door. I was like, wow, you guys really do love one another. There's so much love. I'm sure when he passed away, your phone blew up, didn't it? You were getting texts, you were getting phone calls from people, and they were calling and reaching out to you to express sympathy and compassion. All of that is what? Love. Lots of love. If you're on Facebook or you do Instagram, I don't know how everybody communicates technologically, but I'm sure that there have been people that you haven't talked to in decades reaching out with condolences and just want to touch base and encourage you. What is that? Expressions of love. I'm sure in the mail, and also here, I'm sure there's a little repository where there's like cards, sympathy cards and the like. All of those are expressions of love. Now, I know that you probably weren't looking forward to this event. Most people don't really look forward to memorial services. So you summoned the courage, you drove here, you parked your car, you took a couple of really deep breaths, you rolled your shoulders back a couple times, you summoned the courage again to open the door, and you were walking across the parking lot, or you came inside this building, and what happened? You saw a familiar face. And at that point, you probably shook hands or hugged one another. You said some words of encouragement. And by just being present with one another, it was loving. So much love. I was actually watching the scroll of these pictures. There's some really great pictures. I love it. I was looking at these pictures too. These are fun, really fun. I know that you went through hundreds of thousands of pictures, though, to just kind of pick out these ones. And I don't know who's responsible for this. I think I know. But I know that you took a lot of time and you took a lot of thoughtfulness to kind of pick these pictures. Why did you pick these pictures? They capture a lovely moment, a lovely memory. And in fact, you can probably go back, you see a picture like this, you can be immediately be transported back into that moment. You can remember the smell of the room, the time of year, the trouble you were in, whatever it might be. There's a connection emotionally to this, and it's a lovely memory. But you don't need pictures to do this. You also have your mind, and your mind has lots of memories that are stored there. I would encourage you to go back into the recesses of your mind and courageously bring those stories and those lovely remembrances forward, to celebrate them, to remind each other of them, to rehearse them. These are, again, riches. These are jewels that are found in this moment. Lots of love. Lots of love. The fourth and final, there's so many more, but I'll just give you 4, okay? The last one is that we are confronted with our own mortality in a moment like this. We know that our lives will come to an end someday, somehow, and that's a very sobering thing. Now, my grandmother just turned 100 years old. Just 100 years old, 4 months ago, Bellingham, Washington. We flew out there. We had a great party, wore the silly party hats, had the little kazoo things with the paper that goes a really annoying sound, and it comes back. We ate way too much cake, had an absolute ball. But do you understand how unusual it is for a person to live 100 years old? That's crazy, right? But if that is the standard, and I think it's a very generous standard, I am 56 years old, which means now I am playing the back 9. Very sobering. Which means now I start thinking about things more deeply. I ask myself the big questions. What is the purpose of life? What's the meaning of life? What's death going to be like? What's the afterworld going to be like? And I have a lot of knowledge and understanding. I have my certain convictions, absolutely. I could tie all those up for you. I could connect all the dots. I'm not gonna, though. I'm going to pile on and say, you need to keep thinking about those questions. Because in those questions actually liberate you to live life to the fullest now, in complete sobriety. What you'll quickly discover, actually, too, is that it's very relational. It's all relational. Your relationship with others, your relationship with God. Many times we start thinking about, what can I do to bring forgiveness and restoration to relationships that I've ruined because of my actions or because of the actions of others? How can I forgive others? These are all actually 12-step pieces that are essential to be able to be in right relationship with others, but then also with God. Many times people think, well, I have to do this to be right with God. I got to do that to be right with God. Wrong questions. Wrong questions. It's simply, what do I have to receive from God? He's got a great gift. It's grace, and we celebrate at Christmas. So lots and lots of questions, lots of jewels, gems, lots of riches that are embedded now in this time. And my hope for you is that you will think more deeply about this, that it won't just go past and you'll forget about it later. No. Sit in this time for a while. Think deeply. Give yourself space. Ponder. Pray. And we're going to close in prayer. I'm not going to force you to pray a certain way, but could I encourage you to take this posture? And it's simply the posture of thanksgiving and gratitude. Thank God for the life of Errol. Thank God for the way that he encouraged you and inspired you. Thank God for the way that he was there for you and how he demonstrated so many wonderful traits to you. I get guaranteed, as you continue to thank and give thanks, it'll be hard to turn that spigot off. But that is the best posture to be in a time like this. So what we'll do is we'll just have a quiet time, and then I'll close us in that time of prayer, okay? So if you would, let's pause. And so with tears in our eyes, our hearts in our throats, we say thank you, Father. We say thank you for the life of Errol, how he inspired us, how he cared for us, how his friendship sustained us. We thank you, Father, for his competencies and all the many things that made him so special to us. We miss him tremendously. But I ask, Father, now that you would meet us in our sorrow, that you would guide us, that you would provide for us clarity and direction. Help us, Father, as we mourn, that, Lord, we would sense your presence and we would sense your leading and direction. Help us to appreciate this life even deeper. So, to you be all the glory. I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. On behalf of Errol's family, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here today to share your love, your support, and your memories. As we conclude our services, we're going to be inviting everyone to come forward and pay your final respects. We will begin with those of you in the rear of the room. If you care to come forward along the side aisle to the south of the room, so the one nearest to the television, pass by and pay your respects to Errol and to his family. And then on your way out, if you would care to stop by the guest book if you had not had a chance to do so, and sign in. Thank you very much. We'll begin with those of you in the rear of the room, and if you care to come up the side aisle, please.
What time does your plane leave?
I don't think so.
We should get together soon. I'll figure out the book for
You did great.
I'm thinking of myself. Better look what I think.
Bears overcame the Browns by a score of 31-58.
That's the number that I have.
I haven't worn them in a while. Yes, I remember.
She's been telling me you've been doing that.
I mean, I'm sure that your mind is going somewhere. I'm sure your mind is going somewhere.
Of course. And I got confused with someone else earlier, so thank you for coming.
My best to you. recognize your face. I went to school with my brother.
So I tried doing it.
I have like 4 pages of notes that I could.
Yeah. I got it. I got it. Certainly. Certainly. We've got some stories to share, I'm sure.
That's for sure.
I'm not sure if Renee there was a gathering in downtown. My husband at the time and myself, Errol, invited us to celebrate the life. That's the first time that my husband at the time and I met you one time.
Yeah.
The one only time that we did meet you that time. Yeah, where we actually met in person.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you for coming back. I remember you back when we were left with the band. Yeah, I remember.
I'll stick around for a little bit. I'm so sorry. This was so sorry.
You know. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much. Unfortunate circumstances. You have no idea. What street?
I live right by Long Island, 126.
Okay, Tracy too. Yes, but of course, it's okay.
Now that I know what I'm in for.
Yes, we went to when we first started dating, so probably 6 or 7 years ago. So yeah. And he talked about Rick all the time too, and his memories, and pictures and stuff would come up. And nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thank you. I did my best. No, I'm grandma actually. My dad. Well, it's nice to see you again. Yes. Unfortunately. Oh, I know. And I'm so sorry.
You're right.
It's okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Everything else, I think around 2000.
Don't worry, don't worry. You know, your step family. I have a step family. Hi.
That was like
always in the
Like Michelle Phillips said she did.
very curious soul.
Yes.
So I was a light tech for 25 years while I was a kid.
I missed it.
You know,
I guess she was here.
man was always,
I didn't see her.
he was
I saw her
always
say.
and was always willing to learn.
Did you ever make it to the pool? I have not. I should. I really should. Maybe next year.
Think when did we do one? Not this past year, it was a year, so it'll be 3 years? Okay. I think so. Unless Michelle and Alyssa put another one down before that.
That's right. She's on there. Yes. She
did.
Okay, that's right. Okay, that's who posted his services, correct? I think. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for it. I really should. I haven't been telling.
I know you helped me before it was.
Jordan's mom said that you can order them. So maybe, yeah, so I'll look into that and see how.
I recognize the kids. Thank you so much for coming.
Last time we were in fireworks, and we were all together. It's like right into you guys' Heights fireworks. Whatever. Yeah. What was that again? Yeah. Back in July. Yeah. We were there. Yeah, that's who we were sitting with. That's his kids. Oh, there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was very we knew that things had gone the way they did.
I do. It's what I thought. So, next year, assuming
What do we say?
What they say really is.
How are you?
Why I shouldn't be touching it right now, right?
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, okay. Oh, gotcha.
Don't go out over here, so like hanging out.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I can watch YouTube from class.
There you go.
It's like,
And then Gabriel was
I can watch YouTube.
And so it was
it's like super tacky. It's like there's
Yeah, for sure. There's no secrets here.
I know time just like
Yeah.
Me and Alex Live are celebrating the life of Bill.
Yeah.
That's one of my
Yeah.
this start.
Okay. I didn't even see it, and if I did, maybe I didn't realize.
Unfortunately, I had to make it to the end.
I appreciate
I've lost my mom the past few years. Like, I've been thinking about reconnecting with friends lately. And, like, and Errol was one of them. Like, and to not only Errol, because when I met him, we hung out a few times at Taco Bell. He went to Taco Bell.
Of course,
We went to Taco Bell a few times, and music, so I shared love music.
Yeah.
Taco Bell, I don't remember what was his favorite. We definitely had Taco Bell.
Taco Bell like it was a real.
I would tag him on Facebook.
I would see it. That's great.
Yeah.